Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Adi. Pakistan. Interesting question that all of us have in our mind. Ye hoga kya? What will happen to Pakistan? Somebody talks about a complete failure. Somebody talks about complete breakdown. Somebody talks about IMF. Somebody talks about TTP. And let me assure you, all these subjects have actually been covered on Dev Talks. So I'm not saying anything which is beyond the realm. But what is exactly going to happen to Pakistan? And how should India look at it? To discuss this interesting but very large subject, as a matter of fact, I have with me Lieutenant General Dushyant Singh. Sir, good evening and welcome to the show.
Good evening, Adi. Thank you very much. Good to be back again on your show on a topic which is trending, I suppose. Yeah,
Sir, Pakistan ka kya hai na? It's like a daily fever. Something or the other
yeah,
happens in Pakistan and everybody
absolutely.
jumps on it. But sir, I want to talk about the larger picture.
Yeah,
The game which is happening in Pakistan today is going to go one way or the other. ठीक है, people talk about civil wars, and as I said in my introduction, people talk about civil wars, people talk about breakup, people talk about ये हो जाएगा, वो हो जाएगा. Everybody has his own theory about Pakistan. I think it's one of the most analyzed things in this country. Now,
absolutely.
whatever may happen, sir, see, we need to be as a country prepared for everything. टूट गया
Yep.
तो क्या होगा, ये होगा तो क्या होगा, ये होगा तो क्या, everything. To base this conversation, sir, first and foremost, IMF thing has happened. थोड़ा बहुत इधर उधर से भी पैसा will come. Saudi will give some money. Qatar will give some money. China probably will give some peanuts. All that will happen. I want a little bit of a insight from your side, sir, with regards to what the game in Pakistan gonna in unfold in front of us in the next. Pakistan is a short-term country. Let's talk about 6 months, sir.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting question which you have put because Pakistan today is a analyst's nightmare. The if you go by parameters, I would say essential parameters of a nation or a country. I won't even call it as a nation because as of now there are multiple nations in Pakistan. As a country or as a state, the parameters which are reflecting in out of Pakistan do not augur well for it. Uh, yes, the other day you had a discussion on the failed state versus failed nation. I would like to just put that into perspective from what I have done studies on failed nations, failed state. For that, you have to understand the Westphalian model. The Westphalian model essentially talked about nations, right? Uh, Charles Tilley has differentiated between a state, a nation, and a nation state. Now, briefly, let me say a state is an artificially created geographical area being ruled by a system or a governance by a system. Not necessarily that state is a nation. Whereas nation normally comprises of an area where people of same ethnicity, people with a similar culture, people with similar languages, I mean, broadly speaking, a group of languages which are essentially common to each other reside. That would be called as a nation, right? If that particular nation becomes a state also, coterminous, that means the boundary of the state which I spoke about in the first instance and the nation become coterminous, then that is called a nation state, and it is considered as the most stable form of a state of a region. Okay. Now, nation states is a phenomena which occurred after the European wars. Europe was divided into various states, princely locations. They fought with each other. 30-year war is very well known to everyone. So thereafter, nations were formed into states, and by and large, that is why you will find co-terminacy of both the nation and the state. So Sweden, you will find to be very stable. You will find Switzerland. So these countries were made based on this kind of a format. But what happened after colonization was that states were created artificially. Once the British or the French left, or the Dutch, when every Western power had a colony in this third world countries or South, global South, right? These were not in sync with the nations, and hence you have had these internal problems and external problems. Similar was the case with India when India and Pakistan were created based on a different format, and people got geographically divided. Pashtuns are there on Afghanistan side, Pashtuns are there on Pakistani side. Pashtuns are more on the Pakistani side and less on the Afghanistani side. Yet Afghanistan is being ruled by Pashtuns. There are a lot of contradictions in these states, and that is why they are not nation states; they are states. So invariably, there'll be problems in these zones or geographies. See, that is the reason why Winston Churchill had said that India cannot survive because of its fault lines of language, fault line of ethnicities. So therefore, and religion. But India adopted a different model. India adopted a model of uh, you know a total social harmony based on non-religious factors, more to do with nationalistic symbols were created. There were certain other factors which made India cohere together. They say that Bollywood keeps India together. They say railways keeps India together. They say that cricket keeps India. It's in fact been a matter of thesis and research by the West as to how India remains together till now. So a lot of scholars have done this study to say that why what Winston Churchill said some time back uh, had not come true. But the fact is, I think we would have to give it to our forefathers that they did visualize India in a different format. They played more on our civilizational connect than the religious connect or cultural connect. There are distinct differences in cultures in various parts of our country. If you go to Northeast, it's a totally different culture. If you go to the South, there is a lot of variation. If you go to the North, so India has been formulated in that manner that these vociferous forces have been kept at bay. I won't say they're not working; they are working. There are differences, there are problems because of them, but we are trying to manage them. In Pakistan, unfortunately, they tried to create a symbol of religion as the coherent, as the cohesive element of their society. Somehow that has not gelled well because of various reasons. So therefore, Pakistan remains a state as it is. India is tending to go toward the nation state, not as yet. It is still a state, I would put it that way. So India also needs to keep its house in order for some time to come before we cohere into a proper nation state. So if that be the truth or the reality as of today, Pakistan will continue to see these problems. It will continue to face people problems here till they have five major nationalities living in Pakistan, which are not joined by a common symbol. Because I don't think religion can really join anyone, because no religion has any fixed, set, straight, straight, I would say, living principles or foundations. You have Shias, Sunnis, Ahmadiyas, Vohras. Similarly, in Hinduism, you have Vaishnavites, you have Saivites. I mean, there are a whole lot of variants in that. So you have to find symbols which will appeal to everyone. Now, if you make religion as the symbol of unity, religion is not united in
That to a
Pakistan.
religion that they've chosen.
Absolutely. And similarly, if you go to the Middle East also or the West also, why do they have fights there also? Obviously, because Iran is a Shia country. There are a number of Shias living in Iraq. So you will continue to have these differences. You will continue to have these. Unless and until there is a national coherence which you achieve, you will not be able to resolve the Pakistani problem. That's the basic. That's at the core of the whole thing. Now, what will happen to Pakistan in the current scenario? So it is anybody's guess, I suppose. Will there be a civil war? I feel that till the time the military is there, it will try to contain this kind of a development. Is the political system going to fail? Again, military is the center of gravity of the political system as well in Pakistan. So the last option for the military would be that till now it has been, I mean, after Musharraf, it has been trying to rule through backdoor. Keep the civilian facade in front and pull the strings from behind, so that you are not directly, you know, blamed
Implicated.
for any chaos which keeps. Yeah. So it's a proxy. I didn't want to use the word, but they're kind of ruling through proxy. uh, if that system breaks again, Pakistan army will have to provide that stability. Uh, the third thing is that a part may cede because of lack of order and law and order in a particular region. I am referring to Balochistan specifically, because Balochistan is the only one which talks of a separate state. Others are looking at either making Pakistan into a totally Salafi state. I'm talking of Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, or Sindh is demanding more autonomy, or POK or Gilgit Baltistan are frustrated with the economic conditions, and therefore they are demanding their rights for basic human needs, which are roti, kapda, and makan, which is absolutely becoming unreachable. I tend to agree with one of the commentators, although I am forgetting his name. He said that the economic pundits of Pakistan are also absolutely at loss what to do with their country. In fact, he was saying that probably the Mullah Umar's government in Afghan Taliban is better. Their Afghan rupees 89 rupees 89 Afghani a dollar, whereas Pakistani one is 275, because bags of dollars are going from Pakistan to Afghanistan.
Every day.
Afghanistan doesn't every day they are saying roughly 500 to 600 crores worth of dollars are going across, being smuggled, because the boundary is very very porous. And over a period of time, the Afghanistan Pakistan border was always kept loose because of the proxy war, because of the war which was being fought by the terrorists who were residing on the border, Afghan Taliban and the United States of America, and the Afghan National Defense and Security Forces. So therefore, this border has always remained porous, and that same routes are being utilized to smuggle dollars into Afghanistan. So Afghanistan's economy today is possibly, if you look at it the foreign exchange point of view, they are much better than the Pakistanis. Their Afghani is in giving them more dollars, so they can relocate also faster if they want to. So somewhere I think the economic management of Pakistan has been very poor. Their corruption levels are very high. The traders are looking at uh, somehow to keep themselves afloat. Maybe the informal economy is too high. The gap between the rich and the poor is further increasing. My sense is that it is tending towards anarchy, but till the time the center of gravity of Pakistan is there, they will put the house in order. As far as money is concerned, money will come. Money will come from
Yeah, money will.
various quarters. They'll continue to float like this, and I keep repeating in my every discourse that पानी इनको सॉरी ऑक्सीजन इन्हें मरने नहीं देगी और पानी इन्हें जीने नहीं देगा. So they will keep floating floating into the into the sea, and carry on. What India needs to do, that is the important question.
So we'll
That's
come
an
to
important.
that. I want to ask you another question before we hit that. That will be my last question before we open to the audience. My next question to you, sir, is kind of twofolded. One, uh, we always okay. Let me ask you another preface before we get into this. You mentioned religion, sir. You know,
Yeah.
now religiosity, as per se, depends on the kind of religion which is followed and which is perpetuated in a particular land. If the religion teaches peaceful values, it kind of remains that way. It remains peaceful, it remains calm, and stuff like that. We've got examples. We've got, I mean, them where the Buddhism is there. I mean, in Bhutan and all that stuff, it's rather relatively peaceful. There are no, you know, who, and all that stuff that happens there. In India, the Sanatan is a rather peaceful sort of a religion. We've got multiple sects, but we don't fight amongst each other. You have your way on praying, we have ours. Islam is an interesting concept because it also brings along a Middle Eastern geopolitical pull. Let me rephrase that: a Middle Eastern religious geopolitical pull. So you've got Iran, which is a Shia, which has a certain pull. You've got Saudi, which is a Sunni, which has a certain pull within Pakistan. So they also kind of tug the rope within Pakistan. So that's one point of it, and I'd like your comment. The second part, sir, I want to talk about is that Pakistan, as a country, we've always looked at it from a very a perspective driven atmosphere where we are talking about GDP, we are talking about per capita, we're talking about industrial growth, we're talking about exports, this, that, and the other. I want to twist the tail and I want to ask you this: is that here is a country which has a larger black economy than a white one, which probably needs an IMF bailout to survive as a nation, or let me rephrase that, survive as a state or a world recognized functioning state. It could survive as Pakistan for kingdom come with the black economy that it has. And that's something which again needs to be established. How do we change our thought process to understand this craziness that we call Pakistan, which cannot be judged on nominal values that we judge other countries on? Sorry, it's a long question, but
Yeah. So if you look at, first of all, I don't believe in these ratings,
yeah, of course.
failed state index,
Yeah.
democratic index, but I use them more to analyze a country. And if you look at these ratings, there are certain subheads, and one of the subheads is social factors, which we normally tend to overlook. The social harmony factor in a particular country is something which we gloss over, because we have been schooled, taught in a way to analyze a country by its parameters, essential parameters, as we call them. Security is a parameter which we immediately catch on to. Lot of riots, lot of internal terror attacks, etc. Country is probably becoming unstable. I will give you an answer from a personal perspective. You see, when I was in the US for about 1.5 years, right, I used to get exposed to India from the lens of American media and the internet.
It's the
Okay.
most dangerous thing.
Now, what they would be projecting was an attack here, a riot there, or some floods coming somewhere, Assam under floods, Bihar under floods. These were the things which were projected and bombarded to us whenever I used to switch on the TV, whether it was Fox News or whether it was CNN or whichever channel. If you had to, first of all, they wouldn't cover India in that much detail, so you had to perforce wait for an odd special program, which Farid Zakaria kind of a person would, who used to cover South Asia, would
Yeah.
basically cover. So you were basically thinking that everything is going wrong in India. So I went on leave in between, and I found, yeah, life is quite good here. Yeah. Yes, there are problems in JNK, there are problems in the Northeast, but these are being well contained by our security forces. Yeah, the highs and lows were taking place. Sometimes the activities increased, sometimes the activities reduced, but as a state, we were not failing. But the image there was that, look, India is in bloody deep trouble, and I'm talking of the period when we were in recession, right?
Hmm.
The great recession of 2008-9, that is the period I'm talking about. The things came to that much in Pakistan, in America, that they started doing programs on the fact that the Indians and the Chinese are consuming so much of food that the Western world is falling short of food requirement. And you know what they were quoting? They were quoting the quantum of calorie intakes. Like, for example, they were saying that the Chinese are taking 3,200 calories a day, which is huge. Your requirement is 2,000 something calories per day for a normal man. For the Indians, they were saying they're taking more than 2,400 calories average. They took out some figures from somewhere. I don't know, God knows
How
where.
are we on the
And
hunger index then?
so, no, so that's what I'm saying. And when I checked up their figures of consumption, 4,000 calories. Yeah. So because they were dropping below the 4,000 mark, they were talking of food shortages. Yes, there were food shortages compared to the past. What they used to have in the past and what they were having at that point in time, yes, they were in a problem. But it was not that you blow it up into manner. So in my view, Pakistan is in a trouble. I would say it is in. I don't want to use those words which commonly people use, that they are in the dump or something like that. But the people out there will find the solutions. That's the way I look. I have this intuition in me that the Pakistan army will take on seriously the TTP, control it. Pakistan army is a professional army. It will control it. As far as politicians are concerned, look, they don't have any major
Role to play.
say in this. All these parties have been actually propped up by the military. Whether you take Imran's party or whether you take Nawaz Sharif, everybody came to power courtesy the support of the military. Shahbaz Sharif, you know how he came to power. Till the time Kamar Bajwa didn't tell Imran Khan to lay off, he was nowhere. So ultimately, the army calls the shot. So political problems I don't see. I see problems in the mullahs. I see problems there in the mullahs.
Hmm.
If they start swinging towards a particular side, towards the militants of TTP, then there may be issues. Uh, we should also be careful if the Pakistani military starts backing some mullahs, given the fact that the current Pakistan army chief is a little hardcore
Yes.
variety.
Quran
They
kya?
they
Something is called.
so they I mean they call him in the Ziaul Haq mode. So
Hafiz
and
Quran.
yeah, so I in fact rest all the problems what Pakistan is facing on the feet of Ziaul Haq. It was he who started uh, making religion as the centerpiece of Pakistan's governance. When he made the army of Pakistan follow religious tenets, which were very very hardcore. So it was, I think, Ziaul Haq who started this religion as the primary focus for administration of Pakistan. That that is leading to all these problems. And of course, his policy of uh, creating this so-called terrorist groups or uh, non-state actors for political purposes, and proxy war fighting with India. As you say, Frankenstein monster, comes to bite you back. So that is what is happening with Pakistan, because in my view, TTP is of the firm belief that if Afghan Taliban has survived, has been successful in wresting power from United States of America, nothing stops TTP from wresting power from Pakistan fighting its battle alone. The Pakistani government fighting its battle alone. So therefore, this belief, in my mind, is the problem area for Pakistan today. So if Pakistan military is able to sort out this problem, which I am sure they should be able to, if they use the right methods and means, and keep the mullahs on their side, not
That
by
is
promoting, not by promoting them, but by controlling them. To remain low, lie low, Pakistan would be relatively better. The second thing, which I feel as of now for India, the best course would be that things should stabilize for Pakistan. Because if they don't stabilize for Pakistan, then what is going to happen is that the overflow will always be on neighboring countries.
and we don't
For
want
us,
that.
for us the biggest challenge would be overflow into India and Afghanistan both. If the overflow starts into Afghanistan, the Afghanistani government would become unstable. uh, our effort to somehow uh, build bridges with Afghanistan to prevent the Chinese from becoming too close to Afghanistan, or keeping a watch on Chinese, if nothing else. I think we need to keep Pakistan stable, and Afghanistan strong enough to assimilate as many as many refugees it can, because they should not overflow to India. India, if they start coming towards India, you will have problems, because the overflow will not be only Hindus, because there are hardly any Hindus left now there, or the Sikhs. Overflow would be also the Muslim community, and then there would be internal problems in India.
A radicalized Muslim community. I think that's the most important.
Radicalized? No, not all may be radicalized, but a major portion of them may be
Large portion
pushed.
of it.
They will
Looking
be
at what
pushed inside.
happened the other day in terms of blasphemy,
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So they may be pushed inside our country to create this. Everybody takes an opportunity, a threat as an opportunity also. So I think that is the biggest danger as far as India is concerned. If Pakistan is unstable, if we have to give any help to Pakistan, uh, see, there are two schools of thought. A lot of people are saying that let's give them power, let's give them aid, let's give them something to survive. After all, big brotherly attitude will always pay dividends. My view is that in the past it has not paid dividend to us. It is not going to pay dividends
and
to us now.
absolutely, sir.
I feel that if you want that country to realize its problems, its help must come from international bodies who will put the right kind of pressure on Pakistan not to indulge in any other activities.
Hands off. Absolutely,
Yeah,
sir.
we should force the world body to give aid with very very strong conditions. Even if the US is giving aid, we should use our good offices, and I'm glad that our prime minister is going to America. He should insist that if you're giving aid to Pakistan, it must come with the conditions that it is not being used or diverted towards India.
Or to the military for
Leaving,
that.
yeah, military, leaving the people of Pakistan who are as of now in a dire strait. You continue to spend 4% of your GDP even now on defense. I think it is blasphemy for Pakistan. So if you put the pressure at the right places, Pakistan, sorry, US or Saudi Arabia or West Asia में, even Turkey now. Look, for example, we have taken some beautiful step of sending aid to Turkey, because we know Turkey can at best it can't harm us more than the fact that it can assist Pakistan in fighting against India or in any of its misadventures against India. But by making this step, in a proactive manner, I think we were the first to actually respond also in Turkey. And hats off to our boys who are doing a great job there. Uh, we have somewhere made an impact on the Turkey government. So we can use that good offices to ensure that Pakistan, for heaven's sake, starts looking inward into the problems which it is really actually facing. That would be the best approach as far as I am concerned. So religiosity, to my mind, will continue to have this pull, what you were talking about. The Saudi Arabian pull will be there. The Iranian pull will be there. We can't stop it in our country. How can Pakistan stop it? We
So,
have in our country, we have in our country people getting direct aid from these
oh yeah,
locations.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So the whole idea is to manage these pulls.
Fair
I
enough.
think
So,
that
point
is
taken.
something, that is something which we need to focus on. How
Point
to
taken.
manage these, how to manage these pulls which are going to be applied. And Pakistan is easier to get attracted because of its current vulnerability, and the fact that Saudi Arabia possibly looks at Pakistan also from the point of view that it has nuclear weapons. So
Absolutely.
Pakistan has nuclear weapons, so it needs to remain stable, lest some elements get hold of certain nuclear devices, because they have tactical devices also which are very small and they can be easily taken out, and the
Saudi
damage
knows
will
they'll
be
be
done.
the first target.
Yeah,
One of the
and
first targets.
Saudi Arabia itself is reeling under the Yemeni
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
how the rebels. So they are facing the problems themselves, and they are experiencing the and where will these jihadis go if Pakistan becomes unstable? Where will they go? A number of them are there from that belt also. After all, when the US was fighting in Afghanistan, a number of people joined the jihad from as part of ISIS, etc., from that region or that belt as well. Al Qaeda, Al Qaeda, although not a big cadre now, but still they had some people there, and the guys who came out of Bagram jail, all those people are currently in this part of the region. Their normal destination could also be Saudi Arabia, could also be the UAE.
Yeah, yeah.
These, these countries won't like themselves to get disturbed by such elements. They are flourishing today. So the idea is to manage these religious pulls and pressures which take place.
I think
For
you brought
us,
about.
the Sanatan Dharma concept, I think, is a very good concept which keeps us together. Even in today's G20 summit, I see on the boards everywhere Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We continue to spread these messages. Unfortunately, that is not being done in Pakistan. That message about global unity has to start emanating, not even national unity.
So, 30 seconds before I get into the questions, I want to ask you one small little thing. You've spoken about Pakistan needs to be stable, right? Now, that I agree with. But the level of stability is something that we need to kind of look at, because it cannot be so stable that it starts poking its nose again. It cannot be so unstable that it again starts poking its nose again in not very formalized manners. So there has to be a line in the middle where Pakistan needs to be basically on a sort of a ventilator, but alive and kicking, so that it kind of doesn't, it looks inwards. How do you kind of look at that,
See,
sir?
our aim should be that, yeah, our aim. I'm now talking as a military strategist now. I'm not talking. I'm not going to answer this question as a you know a diplomat. As a military strategist, I would like Pakistan to remain on the tender hook. Okay, if it is on the tender hook, अगर उसके अंदरूनी हालात इतने ज़्यादा न खराब हों, फिर भी खराब हों, ताकि वो इनवर्ड देखे, he looks after its own interests first and then goes out to think about tinkering with some other countries, despite the fact that India is its priority number one or enemy number one. uh, it's better for us. For us, it would be better if he continues to remain engaged on the Western Front, right? If its Western Front is engaged, that much lesser attention he will be paying onto the Eastern Front as a military strategist. How do you do that diplomatically? That's a kind of question which we must ask our diplomats, our politicians, our leadership, how to manage that. And one doesn't have to hazard any major guesses as to how you can manage it. You can manage it, on the
That's
face
what
you
is
can
happening.
always look. So
That's what
yeah,
is
that's
happening
what,
right now.
absolutely it is happening, but we need to also snatch opportunities here. We need to also snatch opportunities here. If you've seen that ISIS KP has openly announced that it is going to attack Pakistani and Chinese officials about 2 3 days back, right? So therefore, this kind of a action, when it starts taking place, both Chinese and the Pakistanis will have to remain on guard, will have to deploy more security forces for their activities which they are undertaking, whether it is in Pashtunistan, as I would call it, or Afghanistan. So, therefore, that much attention is brought away from India.
Hmm.
So diplomatically, politically, and militarily, it would be in India's interest to ensure that people don't come onto the street, because if people come on the street, then there will be overflows which will take place in terms of refugee problems, etc. But the state of Pakistan must remain engaged uh, with internal problems, especially on its western front, so that we remain unencumbered to grow economically without having to spend unduly extra money on our defense budget. I know it
Focus
is,
towards Pakistan.
yeah. So our focus must remain on the northern front, which is our primary concern. See, it's like this: if you got two enemies and the one, the bigger one, if you can take care of, the smaller one will always be, uh, taken care of. So our aim should be to kind of address smartly the Chinese threat. I know we can't catch up with China, but we have to address it smartly. And by that, what I mean is that focus on niche technologies and focus on our economic growth.
Absolutely.
Agree. Our trade, China has now become our largest trading partner with $135 billion worth of trade. I think it's crossing the 140 billion dollar also by the time December ka figures aata hai. We don't know the December figures. My sense is that even in that, we must focus on reducing our vulnerabilities in the trade which we are doing with China. We have to now, I think, extract areas which can be held at ransom at a cost. Those areas we must extract out of this bilateral trade, both, especially the exports are under your control, but the imports are not in your control. So if you are heavily dependent on, say, pharmaceutical raw materials on China, we need to diversify there. So I'm talking very selectively. We have to do a detailed study to ensure that our vulnerabilities of trade and economic growth are taken care as far as our trade from with China is concerned. So our approach, I think, should be that we are reducing our vulnerabilities, securing our frontiers without fighting a major conflict,
Well, correct.
without
I think
having.
I must congratulate you. So that's very well put. Um, it has to be a very clear balance that India needs to maintain and kind of teeter the line of Indian interest, number one. So, guys, before I get into the questions, my request to all of us who are watching the show right now, please do like this video. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do that. And yes, if you can, please do help out the Dev Talks efforts with a QR code right above here. And of course, you can become members or you can send us a super sticker or super chat. Thank you so much for your support till now. So let's get into the first question. You've got a question which, firstly, thank you so much, Mr. Saffron Brigade, for your contribution. He says Pakistan is similar to a few Dominican republics, level enclaves surrounded by Haitian level anarchy on all sides. They will somehow find their way to protect those enclaves of prosperity.
Uh, just repeat the question again. I actually lost track. Yeah, Pakistan is similar to few. Yeah, see, like I said earlier, also this question I had answered partially that Pakistan has that center of gravity intact. Till that center of gravity is intact, they will be able to secure their country. And if they are able to secure their country from failing, what it would mean is that those who are flourishing, they will continue to flourish, or they will continue to have their enclaves secured, right? It's only when the people come to the street that their enclaves will be threatened. That is something which is bad signal for Pakistan, and it is also in some ways going to harm us as well. Yes, people say that we should be able to take advantage of this situation and try to make amends to what we have not been able to get in the past. I'm talking of the POK and Gilgit Baltistan, etc. uh, to my mind, that will automatically come to us if a situation goes to that extent. Especially Gilgit Baltistan would they have already demanded that they should become part of Ladakh, etc. So you will find that the people will automatically tend towards joining a group of people, joining an area which is more stable, more prosperous. The lights this side of the line of control must start looking brighter and brighter, and the lights on the other side should start becoming darker and darker. Ultimately, enclaves will also become darker, and those enclaves which he's talking about, I know he's talking about. There are a group of politicians, there are a group of military people, there are a group of mullahs. They have their enclaves very well secured, right? But it's the public, till they don't get lose confidence in their government, they will uh, they will continue to remain like this in the future as well.
Couple of comments up before we get into a question. He says uranium was found in some Punjab wells. These jokers are crossing a limit. That was a news that came out today.
Yeah. you
Interesting
see
news.
uh, you see, you have to take these things with a pinch of salt. How many are created, how many are fabricated, we don't know. Let's wait for a proper researched, a proper announcement, a proper media report, a proper authenticated report before we comment on such
Exactly
activities.
what is mentioned here. Pakistan lives in illusions and India lives in reality.
Absolutely, absolutely. See, people have been talking about, like I said, in Afghanistan, about so much of mineral reserves, etc. But how much have the Chinese been able to till now really exploit? We don't know. We don't have the
Hardly
figures
anything.
also. We don't
That
have now. They have gone in for some
oil
agreements for
trade.
exploration of oil in Amu Darya. We'll see. Let's see. I hope it doesn't become like the Reliance wala kahani, in Gujarat when they entered into which was that basin where they were looking for oil, and finally they couldn't find oil. That company packed up. So
Yeah,
these are very premature statements. Even for that matter, our lithium, etc. We'll have to see these things fructifying finally to really comment. Yes, we must exploit such opportunities, no doubt about it. But don't believe everything which comes out on its face value. Let's wait for some more concrete answers.
so the only major concern is what happens to the 4 to 5 million Hindus and Sikhs. Where in Pakistan, no, they're not 4 to 5 million Hindus and Sikhs. It's just 3%, by the way. Sir, do you
Yes.
think? But let's just take the question without the number. Sir, do you think India will do something about them? At least those who are closer to the Indian borders in Sindh.
I have a feeling, yes, we will do. We will do. We will do because you see, earlier also the government had announced that they would welcome anybody who is oppressed in our bordering countries, wanting to shift to India. They would be allowed, but they would be allowed on a fast track to progress their citizenship, etc. But it's a humanitarian law also. If you have refugees coming to your country, you have to give them shelter as per the UNHCR mandate also. That is why you have the Rohingyas living in our country. So if Rohingyas can live in our country, I think Hindus and Sikhs are. I mean, we should welcome them with open arms.
Open arms, sir. There are people.
Absolutely, absolutely. I won't say. I mean, my take is a little different. I feel that the entire region up to Indus was part of one single civilization. The only thing is that the religion has changed for a lot of them later on, and they have a right to do so. They have a right to do so.
It's
It's
their
the
country.
management. It's the management problem which is making us a little skeptic about taking them in. How do you
True.
manage these geese? How do you manage such a large? We already have the largest, second largest Muslim population in our country with 300-400 million more coming in. You will have a problem with you. You will
Absolutely.
have a major problem. How do you settle them? After all, we will not get the full territory. We'll have to adjust them within our boundaries only. How much will Pashtunistan extend? Till how far they will come? So there'll be a bugger's muddle unless there is a full-fledged military operations which are launched. And military operations are never a solution. We can create a nation, or we can create a state, but what happens to it in the long term? Will we be able to keep the people together, or we will inherit the problems which Pakistan is facing today?
Yeah,
So we have to be very careful as to how much we go and how much we extend ourselves, because the dynamics have changed. What India was in the ancient period, it's not so now.
true.
Religions have come in, new religions have come in, monotheist religions have come in. uh, the type of culture and traditions that were being followed in those times are totally different. So therefore, Takshila was not Takshila of today,
And illegal
right?
migrants do have a huge problem, sir, at the end of it. They're not on the grid.
Absolutely.
It's
You'll have number of law and order problems. Crime
You
rates
see
will
what's
go
happening
high.
in the US. You see what's happening in the US, sir. It's terrible.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have to first get our house in order here.
Yeah,
We
yeah, yeah.
in our country itself, we have so much to
Contend with
actually
as of now.
Yes, and we have to go a long way ourselves to technically keep ourselves afloat and be called as a developed nation.
True.
We, India and China, from that point of view, I appreciate both of them. They have at least laid down a long-term aim now, 2047, 2049, to become a reasonably strong nation. I think that's a very good goal, long-term vision. We should work towards that, and for that, whatever is possible, we should do it.
Absolutely.
But a war sets you back by 5 to 6 years. Let me tell you, if we have to fight a war, a full-fledged war, we'll go behind by 6 to 7 years, and as such, we are behind the other nation. Another 10 years setback to you from an economic perspective, our dreams of 10 trillion will not materialize.
True, sir.
So smart operations is what we need to focus on.
Ask, can you shed some light on the reports on military talks between the Pakistanis and the US?
I
That's all they
don't
have
think.
to do.
See, I don't think the Pakistan is going to get much from the US. See, by now everybody is aware of what Pakistan has been up to. As I have quoted earlier, also in my past deliberations, that I have been privy to certain discussions between the two sides, not as any participant, but as a witness, as a audience, and they really question these guys there. They question for every penny which they are giving them now. They're not giving them things on the platter anymore. You see, first they announced about the F-16, then they withdrew. Whether it is Joe Biden or even if Trump comes in, I think the aid to Pak military would not be so forthcoming. The talks were more for the, I think, military bases in Pakistan, which Pakistan is still holding back. They are not allowing US to have military bases, and the US wants these military bases basically to keep Afghanistan under check. In the bargain, Pakistan may benefit that TTP, which is operating from Afghanistan, other side of Afghanistan, would be kept under check through drone or drone attacks, etc., which can be attributed to Pakistan. But Pakistan, as of today, because of internal pressures, uh, is not in a position to say that they will give bases to United States of America. It is, in my view, more to do with provision of bases to US in Pakistan, and the Pakistani interest is how to manage the TTP, because Afghanistan Taliban has not been able to help them.
Hmm.
They tried that angle for the last, I think, 2 years now. August 2021, they left the country, and it is now almost going to be 1.5 years. Nothing has changed as far. In fact, TDP has become more violent,
Yeah.
and there are reports that ISKP has made bases in Pakistan. Whether the Pakistani government is supporting them or not, that's a different issue, because
Yeah.
the,
A lot of people talk
because
about that.
yeah, there are some reports, not very confirmed, but obviously that has to be the case. If ISKP has to operate against the Afghanis, they have to have bases inside Pakistan, and if TTP has to operate against in Pakistanis, they have to have bases in Afghanistan. So this kind of a movement is very common in positioning is very common in terror groups.
So,
So somewhere it is to do with the management of their internal security, I suppose.
so thank you, sir, for your contribution. If India wants to be a superpower or big power, it needs to act rationally rather than emotionally. Even US doesn't give aid to Mexico, knowing how broken it is.
Absolutely. I fully agree with him. And that's what I've been telling, that we have to smartly move today in the new global world order which is taking place. We cannot become emotional in our attitude, like, look, we are the elder brother, so we are the bigger power, bigger neighbors, so we must help Pakistan. We have to help them in a manner, like I said, where you extract conditions so that Pakistan is
Yeah.
uh, taking the aid as per your terms and not as per as doles. We should not give them doles. Everything should be given with strings attached.
True.
Hard bargaining is what is required, and you can only hard bargain if they are under stress.
True, sir.
I mean, the day
So,
of Shimla agreement is gone. Yeah, I mean, we have given away so much to them without even they asking to us.
absolutely,
This
sir.
is a time when we must extract everything.
So he says, sorry, as a Bengali, I refuse to accept Pakistani army is professional. Hindu women were systematically raped in Bangladesh. No professional army does that.
Satyam, I agree with you. When I said that Pakistani army is professional, I meant purely from a military point of view, from a military engagement, from one-to-one engagement. I am not talking in terms of how they
Human
behave.
engagement.
Their behavior is more of a social, cultural problem than a military problem. So
Military.
militarily, if they are pissed against another military, and I'm here actually not even referring to their top leadership, because their top leadership has got corrupt and mired into political administration, political and civilian administration. So therefore, they really are not focusing that much on military affairs. Unlike our army, which is totally focused towards military operations, it has
True,
a
sir.
culture and a value system which is coming from the Indian value system. I was a human resource instructor in College of Defense Management, and what we used to teach our officers there was that what is the global value system, what is the Indian value system, and what is the value system of Indian Armed Forces.
Mm.
For your information, the Indian Armed Forces value system is even more pure and even more, I would say, laudable than our Indian value system. That's the kind of insistence which we demand from our officers. So that is why you will find an odd case of aberration which takes place in the Indian Army or Indian Armed Forces. An odd
At the end,
case, yeah.
at the end of it, it's human beings, sir. So,
Aberrations will take place. After all, we're living in the same society. So if corruption is there in the society, there would be some guys who would get affected
mhm.
uh, by
You're
such
humans.
practices.
At the end of it, mistakes happen, and that's how it
Yeah,
is.
but there, we also have cases of not, misbehaviors, etc. We punish them immediately, and their corrective actions taken thereafter.
Pretty fast, yes, sir.
Our preventive actions are far better. So therefore, I think the way Indian armed forces are groomed, that is the primary reason why we are still respected. In the case of Pakistan Army, when I said because of the the uh, the way we have been taught or groomed to train, that has been more or less same. You see, we were the same regiment, like we had Dogra regiment. So two companies of Dogras were Sikhs, and two companies, Dogras, and one company was a Sikh, and one company was of some other ethnic formulation. So what was happening was that uh, the culture was the same, but the officer cadre suddenly, got into a different mode of functioning as far as Pakistan is concerned. They started looking more at politics, civil administration, uh, getting into getting into taking the pie out of the national earnings, etc. That is why you have most of the senior generals running away out of the country after they have finished their tenure. To take any chief of theirs, Rahil Sharif is staying in Saudi Arabia. Kayani is also there. People make a beeline for US. That is not so in India. And for that, the reason is that we have not indulged in
True, sir.
civilian domain. We have remained in the military, but their men, their other the lower level people are quite good and quite professional. I'm talking of the battles which we have fought over a period of time.
Sir,
Okay.
So India ranks low in higher hunger index. Just a comment, not because of Indians are starving. Protein consumption per capita is India is low when compared to the hunger index, and this is because of dietary preferences of Indians. The hunger index is misleading. So that's just
Yeah,
the comment.
I agree with you. See, these indexes have been made by the West. So obviously, we are by and large vegetarian population to a large extent. So therefore, our calorie intakes as such are lesser than the others, and that also reflects in our build. It also reflects in our physical, overall physical stature, etc. So there is this difference. So you can't really compare it, but those are just as a guidelines. These hunger indexes, democratic indexes, they just give you a broad guideline as to where we are, and then we must analyze with our own perspective. Like when we talk about Pakistan, we should think as a Pakistani. How does he feel? In the previous session, we had a Pakistani who gave a comment. ये सब तो होता ही रहता है. Pakistan will come out of it. That is the belief of the common man of Pakistan. So
Yeah.
if he's believing that there is no problem, he will not come to the street. And I said that concept of free rider. What is a free rider? I will not be the first one to lead. A common public doesn't come out for in a revolution unless and until that mass becomes so big that he is now confident to jump into the fray.
Mm.
Otherwise, this thing about free rider is always there. Let the others do it. Once the situation becomes favorable, then I will jump into the scene and claim my share of the booty. So this free rider concept is one thing which you must understand. Why people revolt and why people don't revolt. So hunger index, for us, the capacity to take hunger is much more, right? We are
I
used
mean,
to fasting. Which country in the world normally
that's not
fasts?
laughing. I mean,
So what I'm saying is we are more resilient. I'm
yeah,
That was a lighter mode. We are more resilient to adversities. We have come out of COVID. I think we're one of the best countries to come out of that COVID. Of course, despite the losses which we had, tremendous. The Delta variant was very bad for us,
it's a
but still,
pandemic, sir. I mean, people are getting sick, so what
but
else did we expect? I
but
mean,
but still, there has been a huge improvement thereafter. We have rebounded back fastest.
yeah, one death too
That is
many,
the,
but it's part of the
that
game, and to be very very disheartened about it. One death too
that
many,
is
sir.
the strength.
We still managed it.
Yes, and that is the strength of our country. That is the strength of our people, I would say.
Absolutely.
It's you and me who are making this country what it is. That
Absolutely.
despite all the problems, despite the corruption, despite the traffic chaos, most of the artificial intelligence system will fail in front of the Indian traffic.
Yes,
Purely
sir.
on a lighter note, but we have. I mean, how do you know in the West? I mean, most of you would be knowing about it. They regulate the traffic at crossroads by stop and go. Tell me which choraha in India is regulated by stop and go, but yet there are minimum accidents on chorahas.
Yeah.
Maximum accidents take place on highways, etc.,
Highways.
where the movement is regulated. Yeah,
Venki Saab says, Adi, you nailed it. Okay, thank you, sir. It's a matter of intent versus capability. With capability gone, its intent is latent, but no sooner than it has capability, Pakistan won't waste a minute to restore the status quo.
absolutely. I agree with you. That is why I said that if you have to help them, extract with conditions. I mean, it has to be with strings attached. I don't believe in giving any kind of help to Pakistan. Turkey, yes, not to Pakistan. Although, mind you, Turkey has never been favorable to India, but we also know that Turkey can do not much to us in terms of any major damages to us as such. So therefore, and it was a way to get back at that putting that additional pressure on Pakistan. There was a cartoon. I don't know how many of you saw it. Again, on a lighter side. Today, I'm in a fun mode. So there was this thing about aid from Pakistan. So the Turkey said, we don't want your aid. You first look after yourself, and then give us some aid. So this is the condition of truly the condition of Pakistan, that they were
Indeed, sir.
offering aid to Turkey. Yeah.
And Venki Saab also says, so why the Pakistani civilians are not on the street yet, despite no food, vegetables, power, medicines, fuel, and a lot many other things. Chicken at $700. How long will they hold out?
I last In the last session I had given an answer to this. Uh, 3 4 points I think broadly come to my mind. First is that, like I said, that till the time the Pakistanis feel that Pakistani army is their savior. Till the time Pakistani army doesn't flutter, I think they feel that things will become got under control. Second, there is an inflow of money which takes place, informal economy which we are talking about, which continues to take place in Pakistan, whether it is coming through donations, whether it is coming through people residing outside, or whether it is coming through illegal businesses, drug money, etc. Yes, the common public is under stress, but that common public will only come to the streets when it becomes absolutely certain that nothing can be done about this country. I think that stage has not come into Pakistan. The government is failing, not failed. That's one thing. It is showing that people are being approached. IMF is being approached to get money. The Chinese will ultimately give them money. They have this belief that Saudi Arabia, UAE, ये लोग हमें बचा लेंगे. I think that belief, till the time that is retained, and also let me tell you, religion. There is a large component of people who are religiously very radical.
Hmm.
For them, hunger etc. comes secondary. For them, pursuit of their goal is more important.
That I agree with what we saw recently again after Sialkot again in one of these cities. The
Yeah,
blasphemy thing, that is crazy.
I mean, if at this stage also, if a mullah says that thing कि एक हाथ में कुरान और एक हाथ में बॉम्ब हमारे सारे प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो जाएंगे, so that is a large section of the society believes
Yeah,
in that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, there are sects in the in this so-called hardcore uh, religious groups which believe that even if apocalypse takes place, it is good. New life will new world will begin with a pure Salafi way of living. So if you have a belief of such nature, there are not many people like this. But there is a large section of the society which has been radicalized today in Pakistan.
Hmm.
And the radicalization somehow, somewhere takes away the hunger part of it.
Yeah.
I have fought these guys personally. I am from the infantry. I have, I have in fact taken part. I have participated personally, fought with these guys. They live without food for 6 days. There was a militant who rose after 3 days.
Hmm.
VIP visit takes place. That area has been combed, everything done. 2 days later, a senior officer visits. He's getting briefed. This fellow gets up, half dead, and shoots. Luckily, the person got saved. He got injured only in the leg, minor injuries. I'm talking of the Indian Army officer. He did not. It was not a fatal casualty. It was a. But what I'm saying is that these guys, when they get radicalized, For them, food, etc., is
Secondary.
during the NSG attack on the mobile. Mother of one of the militants, and this I conducted that event operation, so I am aware of it. She rang up to say, "बेटा खाना खा लिया है, कल तो शहादत हो जाएगी तेरी,
This is
आज
which one,
खाना
sir?
वाना
Which attack is this? Which is the one, sir? Mumbai.
पठानकोट."
But
तो ही सेड, हाँ खाना वाना खा लिया है, चिंता मत करो. So I mean, the mother may be worried, but this man is not. He's so motivated, so brainwashed, that for him the only thing which matters is the task for which he has gone. So if he's a fidine, he is a fidine. And
sir,
how much
somebody.
money they have, how much money they have in their pockets whenever we have captured them? 500 rupees, 1000 rupees. That's all. So money has never been a criteria for such kind of people. I'm not saying everybody is like this, but then the ecosystem around them is also, no? If I am being prepared as, say, a fidine, the ecosystem around me would also be of a similar nature.
Yeah. So that I get kind of inspired and stuff.
And these kind of groupings, and therefore the outer layer would be less motivated. Outer to outer layer would be even lesser motivated, but the core would remain like this. So there is this large section which is radicalized, for which hunger is not that important.
Secondary.
Hunger will be important for people of Sindh, Punjab, Gilgit, Baltistan. That is why they are coming on the streets at times. You see, Gilgit, Baltistan people have come out on the streets. POK people have come out on the streets, but not in the numbers which which would raise anybody's hackles. Very small.
That's true. That's true, sir.
And the threat of severe action, the punishment which they might receive for coming on the streets, is also a major issue.
I'm sure they will learn that from the Chinese.
Yeah, see, Imran Khan's movement took place. He started doing everything. Ultimately, it fizzled out. He would have been told in no clear terms कि भाई बंद करो इसको, and everything just went quiet. Now, do you hear any? I mean, he was talking of huge mass of people coming right up to Rawalpindi, etc. सब बंद हो गया.
True, sir.
The realities of Pakistan are different.
Absolutely. Although, sir, there are so many more questions that I need to ask, but I think it's 1 hour and 10 minutes. I think let's bring this to a close. Uh,
Yeah,
it's a beautiful discussion. I think we've covered a very very large aspect of it. Where I think, and if I may just take a 30 seconds to paraphrase what we discussed about the mindset of Pakistan, and which is very interesting for us to find out because we've realized that here is a country who would rather chug along from one tick to the next tick
yes.
rather than actually look at how it can go tick 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 tick, you know. And let me just say that in very very simple words because it's a paradox, it's a mystery with a history, and it's on a mission to kind of do multiple things at the same time without having any capability, and
Yeah.
that's very interesting to see. And of course, guys, thank you so much for joining in. Before I sign off, as usual, please do subscribe and like the video so that we reach larger and larger audiences. This is a video that people need to watch rather than the rhetoric that is rolled out in on our media, where people can actually understand what the reality on the ground is. Thank you, sir, as usual, for joining me, and it's always a great opportunity to learn from you. And of course, looking forward for another interaction sometime very soon on another interesting and juicy subject, sir. Till then,
Thanks.
Jai Hind, sir.
Thanks, Adi. Jai Hind. Jai Hind.